to another episode of Trip 101 Travel Talk series. Today I'm welcoming Shyamala all the way from Germany. Thank you so much for taking out the time to speak to me today.
Thank you, Ananya. I'm glad to be part of this talk with Trip 101.
Today we are discussing offbeat destinations in Europe, and what is exciting is that Shamla took a trip in which she explored three countries, which is Austria, Liechtenstein, which is the sixth smallest country in the world, and Switzerland. And she went to small towns exploring the very pretty towns, castles, and the greenery around these spots. So we learn all about these offbeat European destinations in just a bit. But before that, Shamla, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you are in Germany. What's your life like over there?
Hi, everyone. So I'm in Germany for past 3 years. I'm working as a software engineer. The main reason for me to move to Germany is, apart from work, travel is also one primary thing motivated me to move here because I wanted to travel across Europe. Europe is the biggest place where you can travel to so many different countries. Something like we do in India, you travel between states, it's like countries here. You can even cross any borders like 4 to 5 hours or sometimes 8 hours. There are an n number of destinations in Europe, which is way more beautiful than I thought. Me, myself, along with my husband, we like so much traveling. I have my 6-year-old daughter. We are also training her in terms of traveling, although she is very young. Yeah, probably I would say we love travel, not the cities, to the mountains, rivers, and the off cities. Yeah.
Oh, nice. So, in the 3 years that you've been there, how many European countries have you visited already?
I think it should be 9 to 10, probably. In the first 1 year, we did not travel much outside of Germany, but we have explored almost all places in Germany, like small villages, small waterfalls, and some places would be accessible in summer, some places in winter. It is based on the destination. They would like open some falls during summer and winter. So we explored all the places in Germany. We did not travel anywhere outside of Germany because it's even costlier to spend your first year outside of Germany, like traveling to different cities in terms of we didn't have a driving license. Getting driving license is quite difficult here in Germany. So first 1 year, we explored everything within Germany. And then we thought, okay, let's explore other countries. And then we explored like 9 to 10 countries approximately, I would say.
Oh, nice. I'm curious, what's your favorite city or town within Germany itself?
Within Germany, it's Mittenwald. It's a small town. That's the first town I stayed out of Munich. Mittenwald was the only town which we stayed first, and even now that's the best town, I would say. It's a very traditional town. Every houses would be painted in a old traditional way. Even the houses would be built in a old traditional way with all woods and stuffs like that. We love traveling to villages, so this is a very small village and very beautiful.
Okay, so let's come to discussing the trip that you took from Austria to Liechtenstein and then Switzerland. I want to know, like, when did you take this trip?
Yeah, so I think that's the first trip we wanted to go outside of Germany and then explore other countries. First, we started from Germany, like Munich, and then we crossed Austria. We visited some places in Austria. We also stayed there in Austria. And then while we go to Switzerland, we spent a day in Liechtenstein because it's a very smallest country. So we thought we'll spend one day out there in Liechtenstein because it's like crossing the roads while going to Switzerland. And then we spent another 4 days in Switzerland. It's like a 1 week trip where we crossed 3 countries. It was a very beautiful trip, I would say, because we been there in off season. It was very peaceful. All 3 countries are very beautiful.
Which month of the year was this?
This was during November. Yeah, that was not a hit season for travel. I think not much people would travel during that season. We don't like to visit all the places when it's crowded. Even the gorges, we have so many gorges here in Switzerland, Austria and all. And when you walk through the gorges, you would be always crowded by people. You can't even stand there for a minute. People come back pushing you. So you have to keep walking. You cannot spend enough peaceful time. So we always prefer off season. So that's the reason we thought we'll go there in November. And my daughter was there in kindergarten, so she never had any leave problems that time. Right now she's in school, so we always have to plan on the school timing, so school holidays. So I would also recommend whoever is planning a trip here in Europe to plan during the off season. Just search for in the Google school holidays of Germany or school holidays of Switzerland or school holidays of Liechtenstein. and avoid those days, then the trip would be very much happier, peaceful, less crowded.
That's a good tip.
Yeah.
Were you driving from Munich to Austria, or how did you go about on this travel?
Yeah, so we don't have a car. We just rent car all the time. So this time also we rented a car, and yeah, one important thing is you have to take Austria toll to cross Austria borders. Also, you have to take Switzerland toll also. Switzerland toll is valid for I think 1 year, where you can reuse it. But Austria toll, I think it expires in 10 days. So it's like you cannot reuse it. So you have to take both the tolls in advance before even crossing the borders or while crossing the borders. Because there will be automatic cameras scanning your car and sending you fine if you're not having that toll photos attached to your car front. So I think you can also buy it online. But we generally, how we do is, while crossing the borders, we have this gas stations where there would be signs of board saying you get toll passes here. So you can park there, get the toll passes, and have that ready while you travel in car. So we used car to travel across these places here.
Yeah, that must have been easier to navigate between the three countries that you were visiting.
Yeah, car is much easy, mainly because you can park across wherever you want. The main famous destinations in Switzerland and Liechtenstein, all these places, you do have public transport, but they go only to certain points, only main destination. You cannot even go beyond that place. When you travel across these places, you have n number of beautiful destinations which you can not even imagine. You would not think that's a great spot until unless you go there. When you see that spot, it would be much beautiful, but that's not even listed as one of the top attractions across in the internet. So car, it's very useful when you take a car to travel across Europe than public transport. Switzerland, people often prefer train journeys, and it's much expensive also. But to me, I think car was the best because we stayed at very small waterfalls also where nobody was going. It was completely empty. No people out there. They didn't even consider that as a tourist destination. It was not even listed as a tourist destination, but it was such a beautiful place. So I think car would be very good to travel, where you can just Google around the places and find much beautiful places.
Let's talk about your journey through Austria. What were the towns that you stopped at once you arrived in Austria?
Yeah, we spent like 2 days in Austria. We explored two places. One is Zell. We stayed there. It's a place where you have a gorge. The gorge name is Lichtenstein. When I say gorge, it's like a river flowing in where the mountains are cracked upon. A pathway is created where you can walk across the river, and it's like a closed dome. It was such a beautiful place. You have a spiral staircases, which was man-made. Again, it was man-made, but it was like beautiful, different. To elevate the nature, they have created a spiral staircase where you can take a pictures out of it, and then you can walk across the pathway at least for an hour. And then even those gorges are strollers accessible. You can take your kids in stroller if they cannot walk for more. The temperature inside in the gorge much colder than you have outside because no sunlight inside. It's too dark, and way even water is flowing. It's way colder. So you have to plan to visit gorges accordingly. In the second day, we visited Leogang. The place name is Leogang. It's a place where you can take paragliding and also flying fox, where you stretch your hands, they tie you from the top, and you can act like flying. It goes extreme speed. It's one of the fastest flying tracks across Europe, I think. It's triple XL size, means longest one across Europe. So we did not try that. It was a little bit expensive. We also traveled to Switzerland the other day, and we had the same experience there. It was much cheaper in Switzerland, so we did not try that. But we tried paragliding. Paragliding was really very nice, and very much trained professionals out there in Leogang. That was in my bucket list for a long time, and that wish came true in Austria. We also had paragliding in Switzerland. But again, due to the cost factor, we thought, okay, let's take paragliding here and then the flying fox ride out there in Switzerland. So if you are traveling so many countries, so you have to plan prior. That's the only thing I would say. You have to spend enough time in planning. You have to go to their websites, see their prices when they are open, cannot plan everything at last minute.
So Austria was a mix of nature and adventure. What about your second spot, Liechtenstein?
2 days in Austria, and then Liechtenstein. We spent only 1 day. Vaduz Castle was one beautiful destination, I would say. That's a very famous destination. It's a castle, but we were not allowed inside on that day. Like outside, it's more picturesque. You can take beautiful photos, and it's like a small mountain where you have a beautiful view of the city down there, and you can spend good amount of time in Vaduz Castle. And there is a village called Triesenberg, which is near Vaduz Castle, very near, I think half an hour distance from Vaduz Castle, where we went to the village. We just spent half day there in the park. The park was way more beautiful, I would say, like sitting on top of the mountain. Like you can have your kids play there. You can spend your time having food, spend your relaxed walking there or anything like that. I should tell about this. There was a restroom in the park, a very small one. When you enter the restroom, it was such a clean, like sparkling beauty, I would say. It was shining everywhere. I was literally like taking a video of that, sharing in my stories and everything. It's such a small country, but they maintain good hygiene, neatness and beauty of the place is beyond limits. And there, again through Google Maps, we end up in a place called Alpaca Farm. It's a farm of alpacas, where in some of our Tamil movies we would see that animal, alpaca, llama. Are you aware of that animal?
Yeah.
That is quite common here in Liechtenstein. There is a village called Triesenberg. In the village, there is a farm for alpaca, where you have to again book it in prior. We did not book in prior. We arrived there, we asked if you want to visit alpaca or llama. They said, no, we are not open right now. Like you have to book in prior, but you are allowed to see it from outside. Like you are allowed to play from outside. And the lady was generous enough to allow us to play from outside. So we touched the llamas, played with them. And she also said that llamas are also like characteristic. Some llamas are friendly, some llamas are not friendly. So she also said that this llama is very friendly. You can touch her, play with her, but don't touch the other llama. So when I tried to touch the other llama, it literally spitted on my face. So she warned me. She told me that these llamas, if they don't like you, they would spit on your face. This is what she told. But then I forgot which one is friendly, which one is not friendly, and I started playing with them, like calling them and all. I was talking to one of the llamas, it literally spitted on my face, spitted on my head. It's so funny, but nothing happened. But when you take kids, you can plan ahead and visit this farm. And they also have a shop where they sell all these alpaca-made socks, hats, sweaters, and all.
Okay. So Liechtenstein is like a small country, but it has its own charm exploring this really. From what I read, it's about 25 to 30 kilometers. That's the extent of the whole country.
Yeah, that's it. Like only 40,000 people are living there. And I think it's one of the happiest country, I think.
And it also looks like very postcardy, like very pretty, especially that I think it's the Vaduz Castle, which is always framed. It definitely looks like very fairy tale like things that you've seen in the movies.
Fairy tale kind of castle, I would say, yeah.
So what was the next stop that you had in Switzerland?
Yeah, Switzerland, I think this part of Switzerland, not much people would go. Generally, when people go to Switzerland, they go to Mittenwald, Lavertezzo, all these famous destinations. Even we traveled there. It was way more beautiful. But when we crossed Liechtenstein, we planned to go to the other parts of Switzerland, like Italy-Switzerland border. And one remarkable place which we visited this time was a fairytale village again. It's a stone village. The houses were full of stones. The village name is Foroglio. That was in my bucket list, go to destination bucket list. There was a place they stopped us. They don't want us to go beyond. So we stopped there and we asked a few tourists reaching and they said you have to trek 4 kilometers to reach to Foroglio because the way was totally blocked. Then we took a path and then we did trekking and then we reached the Foroglio. It was true beauty. I would say there was a falls on the border of the village. And in the border of the falls, there was a village and everything was made of stones. The entire village was made of stones and small tiny houses. Not even very majestic houses, not fully constructed, well-developed houses. And it seems people used to live there only during summers. It is not possible to live during winters. It is because no electricity there. They are living in still olden ages, it seems, the stone ages of like what we heard. So when we went there, it was November, not much crowded, no people were there, not even tourists were there because the routes were blocked, right? So not much tourists were there. We were the only people, and maybe one other tourist, like whoever wants to trek, solo travelers, they came. And we saw only one old man cleaning the vessels, living there. The village was completely peopleless. No people were there. The village was like covered with black stones, made up of rocks and stones. Very beautiful. So that's one bucket list. So yeah, that was our trip. Austria, Liechtenstein, and Switzerland. This Italy part of Switzerland. It's a border.
Okay. How did you learn about this place? Like, why was it on your bucket list? It's such a remote corner.
We don't get exclusive places, people posting out there in Instagram. Once there was an Instagram feed which it was a very beautiful video, and we never thought it's near Switzerland. We thought somewhere in the country or like somewhere in the border of the world. But we never thought it's Switzerland. Since then, we had been planning to this place. But when we visit Switzerland, we used to plan an itinerary where you can visit all the famous places, like Lavertezzo and all these things. So that's how we also planned it. But this one, it's in the other corner of the Switzerland, like the Italy border. So if you have to visit this place, you have to plan your trip in such a way that you should visit some places in Italy, places out there in that border. You have to find places. But this was in the bucket list. We covered part of Switzerland. And this place was the last because it's one of the remote places, as you said. You have to plan very nicely so that you can go to that place. So finally, that was in the bucket list.
Did you visit like any other spots also nearby Foroglio?
We visited Stone Bridge, Lavertezzo, probably that I'm pronouncing it right. It's a stone bridge, again built of stones. Maybe 300 years ago, that bridge was built. When I say a bridge, it's not just a bridge. It's way more picturesque. I would say, since I call it as an Italy border, it's a mix of a Switzerland culture, beauty, and Italy's beauty. Italy is full of stones and architecture, and Switzerland is more of greenery, beauty. So when you mix both of these places, like different level of Switzerland and Italy border, this bridge is very beautiful, where all the rocks are nice, beautiful, and there is a river flowing in, which is crystal clear, very crystal emerald green, I would say. That is very beautiful. When you visit Foroglio, you can also plan this kind of bridges, which is also like 30 minutes to 1 hour away. And you have very small other beautiful places also. Like we visited a falls. It was not even marked in the book, but it was very beautiful. We visited there at 4 o'clock. It became dark because November, it becomes dark even in 4:30 here. So we reached there at 4:30. We visited the falls, but we didn't have much time to spend there or take pictures of that. But yeah, it was very beautiful, I would say.
Yeah, sounds like you were doing a lot of exploring, especially because you were driving on your own. So then you could stop at a lot of places and just see them, even though like you did not really have them marked out or they were not on your like Google Maps and stuff, but you could still spot things and stop at them.
Yeah, you're right.
So where did you pick your stays, like while you were going through Austria, Liechtenstein, and Switzerland?
Yeah. So we stayed in Austria and Switzerland. We did not stay in Liechtenstein. We just crossed it. Switzerland, we stayed in one of the Italy's border. When you stay in Switzerland, it's much expensive, I would say. You don't get a good stay less than 250 euros per night. But in Italy, it's half the price of that. You get very good stay in 150 euros also. Very good stay. When I call it a stay, it has to be very good. The host has to be responsive. Because when you arrive there, he has to respond or he has to send you all the check-in details prior. So you cannot just book anything just for like very lesser price and then go there and struggle at the mid of the night. So we always book an Airbnb or booking.com. These are the only two sites we use. And when you book, you have to also check if he is a super host. That would be much an added advantage when you travel with a kid. Like it is safe that they would be always responding or good host. And also check for heaters. If heaters are there, likely because again we are traveling in November, it might be much cold. But yeah, so Airbnb we booked in the border of Italy so that it was much cheaper. But Austria is always at the higher end, I would say. You cannot avoid, but you get very beautiful places out there in Austria. Like one of the places we stayed was a very bigger house, I would say, and it was around 180 euros per night. But it's worth it. That house was very beautiful, very big, and they offered all these amenities. They give you all cooking utensils, all basic things, and very comfortable. Like, we can't buy that kind of houses. Probably stairs, one thing where we could enjoy this kind of houses, architecture and everything. So when I posted on one of my blog about that houses, many of my followers inquired about the house. They want to stay there just for that house because that house was itself beautiful and it's always booked. You have to plan at least 3-4 months in advance to book that house. That kind of house it was. And host was also super friendly. And if you're traveling to Italy border of Switzerland, plan your stay in Italy border so that it's very cheap. Yeah.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. That to avoid like paying the Swiss prices, because you're close to the Italy border, you stay on the Italian side. Yeah, but those are all very good suggestions. Anything else that people who are traveling in this part of Europe they should know before going? One thing I was curious about was if someone's traveling from outside, would a Schengen visa be applicable for Liechtenstein also, or does it require some other, I don't know, visa requirement maybe?
As far as I know, I don't think there is no restriction to travel between at least Austria, Liechtenstein, and Switzerland. Most of the people who travel from outside of Europe, they generally go to Switzerland and main places of Italy, Paris. Or I never seen people visiting out other places like Croatia or Liechtenstein. When I was in India, I don't even know there is a country called Liechtenstein. That's how I was. I think many people out there should be like that. Probably your videos kind of help them in exploring. There are even beautiful countries out there in Europe like Croatia, Liechtenstein, Austria, which is also way more beautiful. Yeah, one tip probably when you travel to Switzerland, food is very expensive outside. Like it's the triple the cost compared to Germany. Germany, like when people travel from other countries, it's expensive for them. But in Switzerland, it's quite expensive, I would say. Like a pizza can cost you like 40 euros, which is like triple the price of Germany or other currencies. So you can buy some ready-made items from supermarkets. They have very less price, like sandwiches or frozen pizzas, or even Indian items. We do get like paneer butter masala. I have seen one supermarket in Switzerland selling paneer butter masala. They are ready-made. At least not daily basis. Probably in the like 10 days trip, you can plan your 3-4 days in such kind of supermarkets.
That makes a lot of sense, yeah, because Switzerland is quite expensive. You were mentioning when you were going to Foroglio, people didn't really speak English. So is that something of a challenge while traveling in this part from Austria?
Yeah, one good tip I have to tell, because we suffered a lot. When you travel to Switzerland, the internet drains within few hours. The roaming packs gets drained within few hours if you keep your internet on. It's very expensive in terms of internet roaming pack. So you have to plan in a way, take some good internet pack, because you need Google to browse through anything, restaurant, tourist spot. When I talk about internet, translator is must. Even when you go to supermarkets, you have to translate things to understand what is that food is about, whether it's a chicken, it's a turkey, or it's a pork. You have to understand things, right? It's all written in German. Especially people speak like English, but not in remote villages. They speak only Deutsch, basically. And Austria also, you find very less people. First of all, you don't find people at all in Austria. It's very less crowded, and Liechtenstein too. But I would say people are friendly. They try to help you, but they don't speak English. But Switzerland is good for tourists. Like they try to speak at least in the bigger places or the supermarkets they speak. But in the remote villages, you should have very good internet pack so that you can use translators. So plan your internet in a good way.
That's critical, especially if you want to explore remote parts and like offbeat town. That's a good suggestion. Yeah. To be wise with it, carefully use your internet. But if there are poor people with internet, one of them should be using it at a time.
Yeah, that's how we have been in that.
Yeah. So I have my last question for you, which is, did you bring back any souvenirs from this trip? Something to remember this offbeat travel by?
We have the practice of buying the souvenirs like fridge magnets, which is available across all places in Europe, like whichever countries you travel. that city, they sell fridge magnets with that city's authentic pictures or their beautiful castle or something like that. So wherever we go, we used to buy that fridge magnets that we'll know like how many countries we have traveled. And also Switzerland, they have very good things like nail cutters and all these things are very good. But it's quite expensive, but very good investment, I would say. We never buy so much other than this fridge magnets is the one thing. Wherever we go, we can buy one fridge magnets with a name like Switzerland or Liechtenstein or something like that.
And I'm sure your fridges are gradually picking up on the wonderful journeys that you're making. So it's a marker of memory.
Yeah, definitely.
Of your
Just say that
travel.
it's good. Yeah.
Yeah. It was really great to speak to you today, Shyamala, about your trip to these offbeat destinations, offbeat towns in Europe. I'm really grateful that you could spare your time to talk about the trip today. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you, Ananya, for your time. I'm glad that I've been invited for talking and sharing my experience. It gives me a lot of pleasure and happiness, like remembering all these memories which I had last year. Thank you for the opportunity.
With that, we will sign off for today and be back again with another episode where we will discuss more travel destinations. Until then, bye bye to you.
Bye.